Hello, this is Lisa with Lisa's Faith and Budget Planning channel. I'm excited to be here. I'm into chapter 2 of Healthy Me, Healthy Us. And yes, I just finished this chapter and I'm ready to dive into it. I haven't completed what I need to do because it does give you some challenges in this chapter to work on it. But I wanted to go ahead and get out and get a video on kind of give you a feel of what they're looking at in this chapter. I'm gonna be glancing down a lot to look at my iPad as we're talking here and kind of look at what I highlighted and things like that. But chapter 2 in Healthy Me, Healthy Us by Les and Leslie Perot, I think is their name, is about moving past your past. And that's a big deal on being healthy. Some people have a healthy mode in it and it kind of flows a little naturally for them, or they kind of stumbled over it and they kind of accept the past as it is and they can move forward from it. And then there's some of us, like me and others, that hold grudges, hold hurt feelings in, and struggle with letting go of the past, especially if there's something repeated or it's traumatic or it just really was very painful. And so yeah, that's what we're going to get into. First part of the chapter kind of goes over a scenario like a family dynamic where you have a father and some siblings and their perspectives of the father. And each one had a different perspective. And one of the siblings just couldn't understand why they saw their father and they were kind of more passive with his being late, coming home from work and not showing up at their games or their recitals or whatever it was that they were doing. And having this one young woman or one sibling not understanding that and being angry at their father and not being able to connect with their sisters because she was like, I don't understand why you're not angry with him. And he had already passed at this point. So they were trying to spend more time together. And the sisters wanting to spend more time with the other one. But it was hard because she was always complaining about their father. So I thought, wow, that was pretty insightful for me. Just looking back on family dynamics, whether it's my parents, whether it's my in-laws, whether it was other family members, I can see how now, hearing that some of the siblings had one perspective and another sibling had a different perspective that had more anger and hurt and more sensitive. And the others kind of were like, well, you know, dad needed to make more money and had to work overtime to take care of the family. And she's like, but I wanted and I needed him. I needed his love. I needed his attention. I couldn't get it. And that was more important to her than him working overtime, you know, that kind of thing. And wow, you know, that was pretty profound for me. What else was there? The next thing we talked about was because of that dynamic, these sisters may never know which sister was right because really all of them were right. There wasn't really a wrong answer here or a wrong perspective. Needs needed to be met and they weren't. And needs were met. So ones were satisfied and ones weren't. And so it was I'm trying to look for the word here. The way they spoke about it in the book was our reality of our past and our perceived or interpretation of the past. We have to keep in mind that our past is through our eyes and our filter. And others may not have seen things the way we did. And a lot of times when we're looking at someone else going, what were you thinking? What were you talking about? It's because we're seeing things through our filter and not theirs. It doesn't make sense to us because we can't see through their filter. You say walk in someone else's shoes. That's really hard to do when you think completely different than other people. Which we all should think differently. That's how we are unique and hands and the feet of Christ. We have to have different perspectives on that. So, but we have to have empathy for one another that my point of view and your point of view probably aren't going to be the same, but especially about our past and our history. What hurt me may not have seemed as big a deal to you as it did to me, because my filter saw it a different way. So let's see here. Next thing they go into talking about excuses and how there's a healthy way of having excuses, and then there's taking those excuses and wallowing in those excuses and carrying them long term. If you're using them for a specific amount of time, for a specific period, I can't do this because of one reason or another. If you can't do something because of one thing or another that's happened to you in your life, but eventually you stop using it as an excuse, that can be a healthy time period of protecting yourself and taking care of your confidence and self-esteem. But going further past that, wallowing in it and using it as an excuse over and over and over again is not healthy, because you're not protecting your self-esteem, you're not protecting your mental health. You are actually using an excuse so you don't have to take a risk, so you don't have to put yourself out there, and it actually lowers your self-esteem and causes more problems for you. There's what they call here seduction of a good excuse. And it's one of those things where we get in that habit of saying things like, I can't control my anger because I've always been this way, or I can't find my soulmate, and I'm quoting from the book here, because I seem only to attract the neediest people. I'll be in debt forever because my family can never save money. Those are not excuses that we need to carry deep and regular every day of our life, because all it's doing is holding us back and literally destroying our life, especially the debt one. And you know me, this is a budget channel too, and there's no excuse for debt. So moving on from that though, yeah, our self-talk tied in with our past baggage and luggage that we have memories of that are painful or that are just overridingly harmful to us. It can be overwhelming. It definitely can be overwhelming, but we cannot take that past and allow it to control our present and keep going on into our future. That is not the mindset we need to know or need to have going forward. So part of what they talk about here is exploring emotional baggage. And I've explored a lot of my emotional baggage without the structure of what they have here, and then have been stuck for a long period of time. But I do know, since I've been back to church since Easter of 2017, and all the Bible studies and sermons and mentors and everything that I've been going through up until this point, I have learned a lot about scripture and what God says and what God's truth is. And a lot of that is helped in this process of emotional baggage, because I'm leaving more of it up to the Lord. I am leaving it with Him. I am providing it and saying, God, this hurts. Please take this. It hurts. And He has softly and kindly guided me through that, through what I've been exploring. And now that I have this book, and now that I have that information to kind of direct me specifically in what the scripture has already been explaining to me softly, I have the tools and I am emotionally ready and prepared, which is why I am so glad I found this book. If I had read this even 6 months ago, I don't think I would have been ready or prepared to face this. But I think I'm at a place right now over the past few months where it's taken these past 4 years to softly and gently mold me and take my heart from a heart of flesh, or a heart of stone, to a heart of flesh, and start, mostly flesh now, but start really excising those pebble stones that I still have attached around it that I just won't let go somehow. And everything I've been wanting and looking for answers, this book is kind of verifying for me, kind of saying, yes, there are answers. Here's some techniques. It's not the be all end all for my answers, but it's guiding me in that direction. So I'm really liking this about this book. So there will be exploring my emotional baggage that's coming up. I won't go into too much detail again in that. Let's see. But they do guide you through a 3-point thing. What did they call it? How to move from your past. And they have these 3 specific points. And under these 3 specific points, each of these points have challenges. And a lot of these challenges have to do with writing and possibly reliving and really putting down and vocalizing exactly what it is that is holding you back. What is the biggest pains? What is the biggest traumas? What is the biggest things? Now, there are many, many, many studies that have been done, hundreds of them that have done, and they have pointed out a specific study of hundreds of studies. And they kind of guide you through the first one, which is identifying your emotional triggers. You may not even know why you get riled up and angry, like violently angry, when a specific topic comes up. But if you start writing it down and you start exploring that a little bit, you might find out what that is. And that could help you recognize when that anger is going to pop up and go, make it easier for you to make a decision on how you react to that. And you be in control of whether you're going to get angry or not, instead of the anger just swelling up and coming out and scaring everybody around you. You get to go, this is not the time. You know what? I'm not letting that control me. So identifying your emotional triggers is number 1. And then number 2 is shaking off excuses. So this is a fill in the blank exercise where they have statements, and you take those statements and you just kind of write down your thoughts based on these statements. I'm trying to think if there's one. I'm reading them. I don't want to give out too much information about the book, but if you're serious, I'll give you this one quote from the book. If you're serious about shaking off your excuses, complete the sentences and really write them down. And they're like, didn't suffer from, or victim, or in my past, who am I thinking of? I don't want to forgive, or struggles, if struggles didn't exist, those types of things. Those are important. If you sit down and face them and just put words to the chaos that's rattling around in your brain and just write it out. It doesn't have to be perfect either. It could be broken run-on sentences. It could be fragmented sentences. Grammar does not count in this situation. Just write it down and let it come out from you to the paper. And you have just organized that scrambled thought that you don't like thinking about and given it validation and going, okay. And you're facing your fears and you're like, that could calm things down. That could make a big difference when you write that out. The next thing is excavate your feelings. So we're going to do some excavation here. And yeah, that's a pretty big challenge. They say it's very powerful. And here again, you can use a pen and paper. You can use a keyboard and just type it all out if you type really fast, and just let it go, let it rip. And these specific requests in these challenges really do guide you into excavating, digging up, pulling your past and pulling it forward. So it's not back here muddling your brain. And that's the whole point. We don't need to leave all that baggage back there muddling our brains. We want to have more happy memories and positive things muddling our brains than what angers us from our past. I mean, if you think of a name of someone that just really upset you, and you don't think of it often, but when it does come up, man, it infuriates you right away. That's something you should deal with. If you're still being infuriated by something that no longer exists and may not even be around anymore, yeah, that's a part of your past. It should not infuriate you anymore because it no longer exists. You don't want it interfering with your life. And that's kind of my goal, is I want to not get rid of my past, but I want to settle my past and say, you know, I'm living with this, and this is okay because this is part of who I am, but it's not what I am. And it lives in my past, and my past no longer physically exists. So that can stay back there, but I don't need it coming up and interfering with my daily life. And if it is, that's an issue. They do say at the beginning of these exercises that this type of exercise is, as soon as I can find it, I went too far, I think. There we go. That they want to be clear and upfront. This is not a cure. This is not the be all end all. This is going to work. This is not going to fix everything from your past. What this is going to do is what they're hoping, and it has been proven to do, is take practical steps to help you move forward from those past painful moments. And doing that with these challenges. We're always going to have struggles. We're always going to have pain. We're not promised anything. We're just promised Christ, really. We're not promised a new day. We're not promised positive, happy, pain-free life. And good people get hurt, they get cancer, they get in car accidents, they are attacked, and there are bad people, and there's no control over that. But what we do have control over is our faith, making that decision and walking with God. And we have control over taking those triggers, taking those negative emotions, walking them out with God, writing them down, and figuring out how to move forward from the past. What is God trying to reveal about our past to make our future positive? And that's what I love about this challenge, is I want to make my past not different, but how to use it for future positive influences for people around me who go through the same thing I go through. I think that would be an amazing blessing. Okay, so part 2 of unswerving authenticity. This is also part of chapter 2. It's the last part of chapter 2, and yeah, it's something I have strived for a very long time. When I realized how much pain I was in from a personal situation, I realized being honest, upfront, and direct and to the point really helped me in coping and dealing with the pain that I was feeling. And I was not afraid to say it. Part of the problem was it wasn't just me I was talking about somebody else. So I did have to be careful on those in that topic. But I didn't pull back any punches. I really was vulnerable when I expressed what was going on and tried to be truly authentic. And I have a great desire to be truly authentic in my expression in my life. And how this ties in with the past and unpacking your past and dealing, putting your past in the past and leaving it there, is being authentic in your discussion, in your writing, in your vulnerability, to really lay it all out on the table and be real with yourself more than anything else. Now, a lot of times God will take that vulnerability and He will take those experiences, those bad and negative experiences, and as He's guiding you through it and healing you and moving you forward, He will use them for other people. But it has to be in pure heart and direct alignment with God. when you're doing that, because that is a very vulnerable place to be, to expose yourself to others and say, I've been through this trauma. I understand what you're feeling, or this is how I coped and deal. Maybe that will help with you. Those kind of things. And I have experienced that I need to temper my excitement sometimes. Oh, I've gone through this and I can help with this. And make sure it's not my pride overriding what God's plan is in that. Because I like to make it about myself a lot of the times. But because I am excited and I do want to help other people, but I do get lost in the excitement sometimes. So yeah, being authentic, taking your past and talking about your past authentically and laying it all out on the table is a good way of really healing what's going on in your life. Let's see, there was a paragraph, I think it's at the end, the last paragraph, and I'm going to quote this and then I'll be wrapping this up. So, about being authentic, and it says, when you get locked on your own profound significance and become more unswervingly authentic, emotional well-being takes a quantum leap. And I did feel that. I felt a huge leap. I felt so much better when I was being truly authentic to what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what I was seeing, and trying to get others to help me, move in the right direction with that. You rely on your internal gyroscope that keeps your bearings steady and straight, instead of tiptoeing around and guessing what you think others want you to be. A people pleaser is not the way to live. It really isn't. It's almost like, it's not a form of worship, but it can, if you're focused on just pleasing other people and making them happy and satisfied, it does get toxic because you lose yourself and you don't gain, I don't know what the word would be, but you're not really caring for your needs and yourself when you're always looking to people please elsewhere and hoping that they would notice and lift you up. I've discovered that is not healthy at all. So people pleasing is not something we should do to gain what we need for our self-esteem, for our lifting us up and making us feel better and things like that. When we're truly authentic with one another, with ourselves, and talking authentically and being vulnerable sometimes, that is definitely the way to really have a more fulfilling and positive outlook forward, because you're actually working out the kinks, you're working out the problems, and you're moving forward being real with yourself. You're not going, well, I think if I do this for this person, that's going to make them happy and they're going to appreciate me and it's going to lift me up. It doesn't always work that way. And I've lived most of my life people pleasing as well. So I love that statement. Instead of tiptoeing around and guessing what you think others want you to be. I don't need to know what others think I need to be. I want to know, I want real and authentic relationships where people are really true to one another and are willing to sit down and talk with one another and be real and not be afraid to share. If they see that I'm unhealthy for some reason, or there's something wrong and I'm ignoring something about myself and I really need to go get something checked out, I want them to say, hey, I'm worried about you. I'm seeing this change. I'm seeing this problem. I don't want them to be afraid to talk to me. So don't tiptoe around it. And I try not to do that with others. Sometimes I have to have that balancing act out of respect or love for someone else. And I know that's not something that the other person would receive very well. But yeah, I like this. I like what they're talking about with unswerving authenticity. So make that a goal, make that a purpose in your life, that being authentic and being true and, walking that out with God it could definitely be something healthy and move you step forward from your past and step forward through your self-talk and on to the next chapter. So let's see here. What is chapter 3? Chapter 3 is uncovering your blind spots. So that's next week's chapter 3. I'm curious to see what that's going to be about. So hope you have an amazing and blessed day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.